much. Excellent. Brothers, we turn once again to a very significant topic. You might recall that we left our June meeting in Seattle with a strong sense of unity to address the urgent need to act in protection of religious liberty. You may recall as well that at the conclusion of that meeting, I asked you whether or not you wish to take swift action to secure a place in our conference structure to allow us the mechanism to address these pressing needs. You responded with an undeniably strong consensus that the time for action is ripe. In light of that mandate, I consulted with our Committee of Priorities and Plans, as well as with the Conference Executive Committee to determine just what structure might best suit this need. And we also discussed what additional full-time expertise the conference might need to staff the structure. I brought the results of those consultations to the recent meeting of the Administrative Committee for discussion and affirmation. The members of the Administrative Committee unanimously affirmed and approved all the aspects of the proposal. Accordingly, on the Feast of the Archangels, September 29th, I announced to you the establishment of the Ad Hoc Committee for Religious Liberty with the Bishop of Bridgeport, the Most Reverend William Laurie, as chair. Right away, Bishop Laurie was invited to testify before Congress on current threats to religious liberty. He did so very eloquently just 2 weeks ago. And just a few days ago, the remaining members of the committee, as well as its consultants, were announced publicly. And we've also been moving and adding and rearranging the staff necessary to meet the needs of this committee and of this new priority for the conference more broadly. And that brings us to this moment where we have the opportunity as a body to hear from Bishop Laurie himself, our chair of this ad hoc committee, on this very important new effort. Bishop Laurie, thank you for accepting the invitation of your brother bishops to quarterback what is going to be a very timely and significant effort. And please, we're anxious to hear your state of the question.
Thank you very much, Archbishop Dolan, and your brothers and dear friends. In a homily which we read on his feast day, Gregory the Great comments on the word of the Lord addressed to Ezekiel, "Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel." And the pontiff adds, "Note that a man whom the Lord sends forth as a preacher is called a watchman. A watchman always stands on a height so that he can see from afar what is coming. Anyone appointed to be a watchman for the people must stand on a height for all of his life and to help them by his foresight." Gregory compared his ministry to that of a watchman. So too we bishops are called to be vigilant heralds of the word and overseers of God's household. For some time now, we viewed with growing alarm the ongoing erosion of religious liberty in our land. During our last plenary meeting, as Archbishop Dolan said, we decided to make religious liberty a conference priority and embraced our responsibility to address head-on threats to this precious freedom. And so, in consultation with the Administrative Committee, Archbishop Dolan did indeed establish this ad hoc committee on religious liberty, now comprised of 10 bishops, ably assisted by excellent consultants and skillfully supported by our newly appointed Associate General Secretary, Anthony Pecorello, with 2 additional staff, a lawyer and a lobbyist. In addition, we will rely on the collaboration of an extraordinary number of bishops and upon the expertise of the conference staff across the board. So now, brothers, let us ask ourselves, how do we as pastors and citizens bring into focus our teaching on religious liberty? What should we be looking for? And what do we actually see? And how should we respond to what we see? The Second Vatican Council calls us to read the signs of the times, and to do so, as it were, through binoculars, equipped with 2 lenses. First, the lens of the Church's teaching on human dignity and religious liberty, a dignity and freedom inscribed in our hearts by the Creator and revealed fully in Christ. And second, the lens of that heritage bequeathed by the Founding Fathers, a bold declaration of independence that recognizes inherent human rights endowed by their Creator, and the Constitution with its Bill of Rights that accords a certain primacy to our freedom to respond to that Creator in every aspect of our lives without undue government interference. Our experience tells us, brothers, that it takes a lot of work to keep our binoculars in focus. That is to say, to maintain a critical and an accurate understanding of how the vision of our Founding Fathers and the vision of the Church's teaching on religious liberty fit together. As historians in this room know so well, the relationship of the Church and the American experiment came into focus only gradually and will always need careful refocusing. Nonetheless, both lenses, when allowed to function as intended, offer a remarkably clear vision of human dignity and freedom. This remarkably clear vision includes the following. It includes an understanding that basic human freedoms are an inherent part of human dignity, coupled with an understanding that our freedoms are granted not by the state, but are rather given us by our Creator. As President John F. Kennedy said in his inaugural address, the rights for which our forebears fought come not from the generosity of the state, but rather from the hand of God. Even as the Church teaches that the ultimate source of human rights is not found in the mere will of human beings, but in man himself and in God as Creator. Now, if religious liberty is prior to the state, and not a privilege that the government grants and so may take away at will, then we rightfully look to our government to fulfill its duty to protect religious liberty, to promote tolerance among various religious faiths, and broadly to accommodate the place of religion in American life. In the vision of our Founding Fathers, religious liberty occupied pride of place. The Bill of Rights ranks it first in the honor roll of superior rights, to use the phrase of Henry Abraham, a noted constitutional scholar. So also, Pope Benedict XVI recently stated that religious liberty is the first of human rights, not only because it was the first to be recognized, but also because it touches man in his constitutive dimension, namely his relationship with his Creator. And so, with Blessed Pope John Paul II, we keep in focus a common understanding that religious freedom is the source of all other human rights and a kind of litmus test or touchstone for the protection of human dignity generally. And so we expect our government not to allow religious liberty to be easily compromised by other claims or interests, in effect, to become a second-class right. Our vision is sharpened by the wisdom of George Washington, who saw the importance of morality and religion for political prosperity, and by the observation of Alexis de Tocqueville that religion and religious freedom are indispensable supports for our country's experiment in ordered liberty. And so we rightfully envision the church as an actor in society, forming not only believers, but also citizens who are equipped to build a civilization of truth and love. So we seek protection by law and in culture and acceptance in our culture of intermediate institutions such as the family, churches, and schools, institutions which stand between the power of the government and the consciences of individuals, all the while contributing immensely to the common good. The lenses of our binoculars equip us to search both law and culture, to see whether they respect religious freedom as an individual right, inscribed in our human nature by the Creator, no matter what the political trends of the moment. For as the Second Vatican Council teaches, the exercise of religion of its very nature consists before all else in those internal, voluntary, and free acts whereby man sets the course of his life directly toward God, and thus no one should be forced to act in a manner contrary to his conscience. While recognizing religious freedom as an individual right, we see that religious freedom belongs to churches and religious institutions made up of citizens who are believers, who seek not to create a theocracy, but rather to be light and leaven for their culture from within. We look for a robust understanding of religious liberty extended to all faiths, an understanding that envisions not only the importance of being able to worship freely, but also to bring into the public square the truths and values that flow from faith and reason, and that are expressed in works of education, healthcare, and charity. In short, religious liberty pertains to the whole person. It is not simply the freedom to believe and to worship, but to shape our very lives around those beliefs and that worship, both as individuals and as communities, and to share our lives thus transformed with the world around us. And so, with clarity of vision, we ask whether a genuine understanding of religious liberty still has a chance of shaping our society. For as one distinguished jurist put it, if liberty dies in the hearts of men and women, no constitution, no law, no court. As watchmen, we need to see whether or not this fundamental liberty continues to live in the hearts of our fellow Catholics and citizens. And so what is it that we actually see